V'hinei, we continue with our understanding. We're in the Shleimei Adas still. Sov zosa madrega, asher adam afachet tamid, u'persher obasenu, obedivrei Torah ksiv. V'hinei, sov zosa madrega, the end of this madrega, important, we'll go back to those words. Sov zosa madrega, hu anikra yiras chet. It's called the fear of sin. Shumanim shubachos shemadregos. That's from the greatest, most beautiful of levels. V'hi sheyadam yarei tamid. Person will always be fearful, v'doig, and concerned. Penny yimotze biyado, perhaps it will be in his hand. Eze shemitz chet, a little bit of a sin. Shakveo min hashleimus asher hu chayav l'shtadel bavuro. This, maybe that was lashon hara. Maybe that was God forbid motzi shemra. God forbid motzi shemra. Maybe I'm not making a bracha achrona. Maybe I didn't make an asher yotzer, a shakol, a b'rei nefashos. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that phone call during Seder. Maybe I should have been a little more friendly. Maybe I should have given that person a little bit more time. Wow. We speak about a lot of yiras, usually. Yiras Hashem, Yiras Shamayim, Yiras Onish, Yiras Romus. I think the one we speak about least in our Jewish world today is Yiras Chet. It's interesting, right? If you think about the terms, Yiras Shamayim, you hear a lot. You should be talking to Olav, Torah, V'yira, right to the Bar Mitzvah boy, Yiras Shamayim, Yiras Hashem, all good. Yiras Onish, sure we talk about it a little bit. But here, Rabbeinu tells us that the real Madrega is called Yiras Chet, and that's this point. That's the Shleimei Adas who have their minds on, and the Yarei that they're going to be away from the Shleimus, which they so much desire. I know what it's about, is to get the Shleimus, and I don't want to miss that. That's what it's about, and they're concerned about. I just want to stick in a little Maisa, because I always try to show that sometimes our natural, what Rav Dovid calls like frumkeit, Ayin Sham in Chelik Beis of Ali Shur, which has a positive thing to us and a negative side to it. He talks about the negative side, but sometimes our frumkeit leads us to think like Yerushalaim means brachos, davening, B'dul Torah, etc. But we forget that it's Ben Amlachaber also. So I want to share a Maisa about, I heard from one of his close Talmidim, David Morgenstern, about the great Rav Elyashiv, one of the Gedolei Ador, Gedolei Poskim in the last generations, leader of Yeshiva Jewry in Eretz Yisrael and around the world really in his later years. The great Rav Elyashiv was somebody absolutely incredible. So Rav Elyashiv used to have Purim at his house and close to the Breslov Shul. If anybody ever goes into Mesilas Yesharim, it was very, very close. His place where I was over to ask him a few questions there, as thousands of others were. But you could go and ask him a question, go through the line. It was moving, but you could speak to him. And it was very close to where the Breslov Shul is, Yesharim, which is a big, and close to Breslov, and was close to Slonim, I remember. Anyway, so Rav Dovid Morgenstern, who was one of his closest Talmidim, says that I heard Rav David say this, that Rav Elyashiv would be home on Purim for years. At a certain point, he switched, and I think he went to his son-in-law, Rav Azriel Orbach, who Shliti Balda Ben Chaim L'Chaim is still alive and well in Bai Began. Okay, so that's where he did Purim. And it was asked to Rav Elyashiv, like, why did the Rav switch from here to there? And he said, this is absolutely incredible, he said that people would come to me on Purim, let's say, I don't remember the exact wording, of course, but Baruch, Rosh Yeshivas come, Admorim, Dayanim, regular people, Rabbanim, Rabbanei Ir, the whole world would come, and I would have to make such a measured calculation of each one, how much covet, how much time to greet each person with. Every person deserves his portion, but there's tens and tens, if not hundreds of people, and I had to make those calculations to be careful about each one. What they was fit for them and fair to them. And I've gotten older. I don't have cough to do that anymore. So taxing for him and his age years. But that's a person who lives with Yiras Chet. That's a Yiras Chet in Ben Amlachaveru, to be concerned. And by the way, I'll point out that Rav Elyashiv wasn't on the exterior, wasn't a friendly person. You wouldn't call him friendly. That's not. He was. But you see here, I always love this story because very often, it's often said like that. The people some people are perceived as like very friendly and not friendly, and friendly is good. I try to be friendly, but it doesn't. Friendliness is like me. Then it's part of the whole picture of ben l'chaver. It's not the be all and end all. And a friendly person can be very lacking, and a less friendly person can be very very shalom. It's different parts of the picture. I always like to compare for now. I'm not going to say the other Rab's name, but I always like to compare Rav Shach with another well-known gadol, and the public persona was that this person was like the well-known gadol. I'm not going to refer to by name right now. Was more accepting, etc. But as a person, he was from what I've heard from Talmidim, he was a pretty tough. He wasn't a very friendly person. He wasn't a very warm person. And Rav Shach is famous, maybe less in the world today, but he was famous in my time as someone who was always, we call a lochem Hashem. He was a battler on many, many fields and many things, and that's what he perceived. But Rav Shach as a person was a teddy bear. I mean, mamish a teddy bear. He was one of the most loving, ichpati people. Many people tell you he was the most ichpati. Those who know the wonderful world, not just friendly, but the most ichpati, most caring person in the world. Arguably, Rav Shach was the most caring person in the world. Someone would go to him who didn't know him and would ask him a question about whether he should take a job or someone. Rav Shach would get on the phone and call people for him. He didn't, not his Talmud, not someone learned in Panovich, not someone he had any responsibility for, not someone you don't necessarily ever see again. That's what Rav Shach was. I've said this story. So one more story about him. It's so beautiful. Get back to the Rabbi Yasha story. We'll get back to the Mesilas Yesharim. It's good to hear these stories that I heard from Mickey Saratsky and Rav in Telstone, who knew the story, that there was a young woman in Telstone who didn't want to get married, and the family it was the day of their wedding, the family was at their wits' end. They didn't know what to do. They called Rav Shach. I don't know what connection they had. And Rav Shach got in his car from Bnei Brak to Telstone and went into her bedroom, and he spoke to her for 45 minutes. She went dancing to her wedding. So that's, but not every gadol is like that. So anyway, so Rav Yashav, just back to Rav Yashav, so you always have to know, go deeper. It's not about Gedolei Yisrael, and there's no critique. Kulam Kedoshim, Kulam Brurim, but everyone had emphasized different things and brought out different things, and sometimes it's superficial, right? Superficially, Rav Yashav was and it's true. He wasn't Mr. Friendly. You wouldn't go to Rav Yashav for a hug. He definitely wasn't Mr. Friendly. He was definitely not Mr. Small Talk. Definitely in the later years. But his concern and his yiras ched and his ben chaver was astounding. I always say about Rabbi Yasha one more thing, that the half hour that he would give to answer shilas for where he was so incredible. I mean, and later years he got a lot more, but he used to, I think it was once at a certain point it was like half an hour a day. Then he became like the manig of the generation, and it became much more of an ol on him. But we realized, like, for me to give half an hour, okay, what I do with my time, half hour, take it. For Rabbi Yasha, half hour, how much I can learn, how many sugis I can learn in half an hour. The Mesiras Nefesh for him of giving that was so enormous. We have to will that. Anyway, so that, friends, is just a little bit of the picture of yiras ched. Yiras ched is that's it. Maybe I'm not, maybe I can't, here I am, my Purim Suda, it's Purim, tons of people are going to come, and I'm not going to be able to give each person what he wants in the same way. I'd rather go somewhere else. That's yiras ched. And Asher Chayiv L'Shtadel B'Vor. V'Alzamru Zichron L'Vracha Derek Moshel. Melamed, this is incredible. Melamed Shekol Echad Nichma Mechupasa Shel Chaver. Each person is burned from the chuppah Shel Chavero. Wow. It sounds like that means in the next world. Wow. Each person is burned from the chuppah of Chavero. Now he's going to get into something, and I'm letting everybody know right now, this compared to the next section, when we get to the Pchusim, right? Now we're in this parsha of the Shleimei Hadas. So keep this in mind, the way we're looking at things now, and we're going to contrast that eventually with the Pchusim, and we'll see the difference between the perception. So the Shleimei Hadas will get to Olam Ha'emes, and they will be nichba, they'll be burned michupasa shel chavero. What? Why will I be burned? Chuppah, by the way, doesn't mean because the other guy got about a shechting. It means the chuppah is like his area. Chuppah is, some briskers are kona their chuppah, right? Chuppah is a person's area. They make a kinyan, they make sure they own the area. So chuppah represents like a rishus of a person, an area, a domain, right? So each one is going to be burned from the domain of his friend. What's that? Oh, that sounds like kinna, right? The jealousy, the passion of jealousy. How come he got? How come she got? How come they got the raise? How come they got the thing? No. Ain't zamitama kinna. Nothing to do with jealousy. Asher tibo rak b'chasrei das. That's chasrei das. Kinna, right? Jealousy, stupid. That's the stupidest thing, right? He's you, she's you, and what are you doing? That's chasrei das. Only that's not for shleimei das. Tibo rak b'chasrei das. K'moshe ekto b'siyat dishmaya, as I'll write about. We'll see. Elam ne ra'oso atzum chasim in a shleimus. You know what it is? Because I see myself as lacking shleimus. I see if my friend got to this level, I could have done it also. So listen carefully. So there's a darga here, and I have a great new way to express this, which I want to share in a second, is that one will, in the next world, see where his friend is sitting, and that's going to make him realize. I thought I couldn't learn Yerushalmi. If you ask me right now, right, will I make a siyam in Yerushalmi? I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I if I was a betting man, I wouldn't necessarily bet on it. Unless I start just doing daf yomi, that I could do. But the way I learn now, and I like to learn now, and I perceive that I should learn now, I don't know if in my derech I'm going to get to the siyam Yerushalmi. Okay, now, but what could happen? You get there, and then you say, wow, your friend, ex-friend who's similar to you, he learned Yerushalmi. But what do you mean? He was as busy as I was, and he had as much brain power as I had, and he learned Yerushalmi, and I didn't. Like, oh, whoa, that's gonna cause like an existential problem. That's a burning, right? Because that's the perception. I'll use a term that I saw in a book called The Lethem Theory, which is popular today, but I shared this already, but it's a tremendous idea. It said that looking at other people, we should be a torture or teacher. So here it's a teacher. Now it's a teacher that's too late. This is the tikkun, right? The torture is, she's better looking than me. He's better looking than me. He's naturally brighter than me. He's stronger than me. He's taller than me. That's just torture because there's nothing you can do about that. And it's just torturing yourself by looking at others. The way to look at others is those that you can learn from is to let them be a teacher to you. Oh, what did they do to be successful? What did they do? So looking at others, she phrases intelligently as torture teacher. So this is something else because it's lost of level. But the answer for us today would be to let people be a teacher to you, right? Look at those. Now, I've learned a while ago, it took me a while, I wrote this in my Sefer, Yediyas Torah, that sometimes I know when I looked at my Rebbeim and I realized that they got more than me, and for sure it's because they're much more all good things than me, but some of them were smarter than me. Ex-Rebbe of mine has a better memory. There's no question Psi Koslevsky has a better memory than me, and Mendel Blockman has a better memory than me, and really like that. So I can't, that's not a fair, if they work hard on me, that's something I should be beating myself or teaching myself for. But like, why am I not as brilliant as Blockman? That was the way it was dealt out. That was the way the Kadosh Baruch Hu made me, right? I'm definitely not as smart as Psi Koslevsky, so that's torture for me to say that. The teacher is, but look how hard Psi worked, look how hard Blockman worked. That's the teacher. But anyway, so here that's the point. Amazing insight of the Ramchal here, because when you see the Gemara, that's the Gemara in Bava Basra, you say, it's because there's kinna there, right? These people, no, it's not kinna, it's not jealousy. These people don't feel jealousy. It's not jealousy. So what is it? It's perception. It's existential perception. It's the understanding that I look to my right or left and I say, hey, if you got to that level, that's the shlemus, that's the daiga, that's the ashadim fakatamin. This is like you'd say the sum of all their fears. Oh my gosh, my whole life I've been concerned, and I thought the reason I wasn't learning Yerushalmi is because it's too out of my range, right? I can't learn Kabbalah. I can't do more than Daf Yomi. I couldn't learn more than Amid Yomi. It was too much stress for me to put in that 15-minute learning Seder, or to do this extra chesed, or take on this communal responsibility, or to stretch myself in this way, give more tzedakah, etc. And then I see that my friend did it in the next world, and his chuppah, his domain is more light than me, and he has a certain level of shleimus they don't have. So obviously, together with all the joy and feeling Olam Haba, so we'll figure that out. But there's going to be a certain burning feel, which is not geshmak, right? for sure. So what's the lesson for us today? I want to share two things. It means that we have to look. The way to do that now, this is just off the page a little bit, is to use other people as teachers, and you have to be intelligent about it. You have to be intelligent about it, like I said, because often we're just torturing ourselves, or often we're teaching ourselves lessons we can't handle. Because again, for me to see the person who's just has a much better memory than me, and see him as the example, like, why are you not like him? Because it really, and the true answer in my head is going to be because of his memory, if that's what it is. So that's not really going to be a teacher for me. That's not nichlu michlu pasa shechavero. That's the Rebbe gave him a better memory than he gave me, or whatever else, right? But yes, look at our friends who are similar to us that are accomplishing more. So that creates a tension. My Rebbe Leichter would say that creates a good tension for us. The Chazon Ish doesn't create tension for you. Your friends create tension for you. A good tension which pulls us in the right direction, and we don't want to be there. Okay, so it's not at all kinna. That's what it is. Vinay. So the end result of all this, friends, is that when a person has been boning on this, so then a shalim, right, all that he's discussed in this amazing, we've dealt with these amazing 2-3 last sessions. So then a person will be, now I'm going to be zahir. This is the way to get to zahirus. The way to get to zahirus is it's not a shortcut. The way to get to zahirus for the Shleimei Hadas is by living and appreciating. I don't have to think about punishment. It's not punishment. We'll see. It's not covered. It's the true perception of what's really worthwhile in life. Now, we're about to get to, in the next session, we're going to deal with Achla Pchusim. So this is all the Shleimei Hadas. Now we're going to deal with Pchusim, Arba Banim. But what's important is that I imagine many feel like me, they're not there. So we're probably Pchusim. I think a lot of us, this is just my trying to bring the Mesilas Yesharim practicals, as I said many times, I try to make it practical, is that we can have moments of this, and perception of this, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up and say, well, if I'm not fully a Shleimei Hadas, I must be Pchusim, because we'll see when we get to Pchusim, it's not necessarily going to speak to, I think this Shleimei Hadas speaks to more of us, more than the Pchusim Svar will. You'll see when we get there. So we have to use this. You can use this. And maybe it's in one thing. Maybe I want my Asher Yotzer to be like a Shleimei Hadas. Don't be all or nothing. And that's what he said. Remember, he said, meaning Sofa Madriga, the end of this Madriga is Yerush Chet. That means there are a lot of levels to this, right? So I believe for us, a level of this is very, very important. I believe for us, a level of this is to understand that I'm not a Shleimei Hadas. But I can have a Shleimus about something. My Asher Yotzer, my Berachas Shachar, maybe my Shahakal, maybe my first shahakal a day can be the way Shleimei Hadas would make it. I want this thing to be perfect. I'm concerned that the 45 minutes a day, the first 15 minutes of my Seder, I'm going to be shleimistic about it. That's an incredible way to bridge the gap and take again, no doubt, the Mesilas Yesharim's world, the Shleimei Hadas are 24/7 Olympic athletes. Let's speak it out. You know what they are? They're 24/7 times 4 times 12 times 90. Yeah. They're 24/7 the whole week, every week times 4 times 12 every month times 90 for 90 years. That's what they are. The Shleimei Hadas. That was Rav Elyashiv. That was Ritzi Meyer. That was Hayu Anashim. Okay, they're Shleimei Hadas. So we're not there. We're not 24/7. Maybe we're not 24/6. Maybe we're not 24/2. But we can have moments of Shleimei Hadas when a person will sit down and think, how chashuv is avodas Hashem? I have Yetzer Hara. I waste time. I do other things. Sometimes, God forbid, I speak less and lashon hara. You hear this. Okay, but I can cop the point of being a Shalom B'das for a moment, and for some small aspect, even for a moment, if you even a moment is worthwhile, even if it's inconsistent. Koshkin, if it's inconsistent, 1 or 2 things a week I want to do like a Shleimei Hadas. I want to get to davening like a Shalom B'das. I'm not going to hold with it a whole hour. I'm not going to be concerned about every kapitel and Tehillim and this, that. But I can be a Shalom B'das. Maybe I'll answer Yehei Shmei Rabbah like a Shalom B'das. How does Shleimei Hadas say Yehei Shmei Rabbah? And I can live with that. I'm not just imitating, not a cheap imitation. No, I know, let's go through the process. I know there's nothing really worth in the world besides mitzvahs. And halavai, I could do it for 24/7, 4, 12, 90. But I'm not there right now. But I can take that shleimus hadas, which is the small level of shleimus hadas which I've reached, and put my Yetzer Hara aside and say Yehi Shmei Rabbah. This Yehi Shmei Rabbah is everything. The Chazon said a person could come live 70 years and come from the Neshama Elyon from down here and say one Yehi Shmei Rabbah. How much worth it is? How much is this Yehi Shmei Rabbah going to light me up and light up the whole world and create my chuppah in the next world? That's my shleimus hadas. I think it's a very, very important idea to connect to this idea in a way which we can work with, and we shall have hatzlacha.